Hey guys, welcome back to Life Group again. Excited that you guys are all here with us tonight. And I just want to take a couple of seconds to remind you that Easter is only 6 Sundays away. I know that spring break is usually around that time as well, especially I know at Navon it is that week as well. So I just want to kind of ask you guys if you could stick around and then go on spring break after church on Sunday. That would be fantastic. But just kind of wanted to throw that out there and say Easter's going to be a fantastic service. Think of someone that you can invite and just introduce them to Jesus in a life-giving way. So we just started a new series called Love Song, and it's all about a verse-by-verse approach to Song of Solomon. And we're dedicating 6 weeks to this because we believe that if you get love right, if you get relationships right, if home works, if you get this kind of thing and it all works together, that the rest of your life actually will work as well. And we're just kind of fighting against this idea that culture has been giving to us, that it's just kind of this philosophy of relationships that we get from culture that just isn't working, and actually it will never work. And so we've been talking about the Song of Solomon. And Solomon, he was the third king of Israel. He wrote 3 books of the Bible. He wrote most of the Proverbs. He wrote Ecclesiastes, which again, if you're over 40, that book makes a lot more sense than it did if you read it when you were younger. And also, obviously, Song of Solomon, which is I think better translated as the Song of Songs, where Solomon wrote 1,005 songs. And of all the songs that he wrote, this is clearly the best one. So there's a couple of ground rules that we're going to go over. Number 1, listen for yourself. And as you're answering these questions and as you're listening, make sure that you're not just elbowing the person next to you, that you're actually thinking about, this is for you. This is not for anybody else. Number 2, don't get discouraged because God's standards are really, really high. And if you've already messed up, or you think that you've messed up too much, or maybe you're even in the boat that maybe even right now you feel like you're completely unworthy, I just want to say that God's grace is renewed every morning. His mercy is renewed every morning. In that really you could just not be discouraged with where you're at right now, but make that step today to progress further now. Don't look at the past. Number 3, apply these questions to your situation. So whether you're married or dating or single or younger or older, whatever your situation is, apply them to your situation. It's not going to be that hard, I think, to apply the principles that we're going to share. And then number 4, this is written like a poem. It's written like an allegory. So there's a lot of things in Song of Solomon that's kind of cryptic, but that's why we're going through this, to kind of explain some of those things. And I'm really, really super excited to get into this.
Cause all of me loves all of you. Love your curves and all your edges, all your perfect imperfections.
Okay, so as we dive right into chapter 1 of the Song of Songs, I want to make mention of this, that there are 3 people that speak throughout this. There was he, or the lover, which is Solomon. There's the beloved, which is Solomon's soon-to-be wife, and sometimes it says she. And then also there is these friends, this chorus of friends, which is the daughters of Jerusalem, and they chime in every once in a while, and they're the cheerleaders that say, man, you guys are doing it right. And so those are the 3 people that have the conversation in this text. What we kind of noticed, though, is there's an order. This is chapter 1 takes place before they're really even officially dating or courting or anything. And so they're talking about attraction here. And there's this order of attraction that's shown in the Bible that I think is really, really important. This first attraction is spiritual attraction, which I believe makes up about 75% of the total attraction that you have to somebody is spiritual attraction. And so we're going to kind of start off in verse 7, where she's kind of laying down some guidelines for this relationship. She says, "Tell me, you whom I love, where you graze your flock, and where you rest your sheep at midday. Why should I be like a veiled woman beside the flocks of your friends?" And so what she's saying is, why should I be like a prostitute? We're not going there. We're setting up some boundaries, and there are certain places that we're not going to go, and we're not going to be touching each other in that way. So she kind of set that up right from the beginning, like her values. And actually, we talked about this on Sunday, but she most likely wasn't the most attractive of women. But yet, he considers her beautiful, and so like to her friends, she's saying, you know what, I'm not beautiful, but he values me. He thinks that I'm beautiful, and they're saying like, why does he think that? It's just because I have value, because I honor myself, because I have value, because I know who I am, because I'm strong in the faith. And so, and that's kind of where the first question comes in. How does putting a relationship with God first change your relationships with your friends, with your family, and with your spouse? Okay, so number 2, the biblical order of attraction. The 20% of attraction is emotional attraction. Listen to what it says here in chapter 1, verse 9. I liken you, my darling. So we're just going to stop right there on this verse. That my darling, the darling word in Hebrew is roya. And what that means is it means best friend. He's saying, I just don't like your body. I just like your physical features. I just don't want to get married. I just don't want to get in bed with you. I like you for way more than that. You're my best friend. I want to spend time with you. I want to be interested in what you're interested in. I want to go places with you. I want to be every waking moment with you. And I think a lot of times our relationships are sometimes missing that kind of best friendedness, but that's a huge part of our attraction. The first part is spiritual, second part is emotional. The more of the emotional tanks, we talked about this on Sunday, the more of the emotional tanks that you fill, the more attractive you become. Because why? Because you're filling those things inside of your spouse, and when she's using up that tank, you keep on putting more and more in there. It's not even just that, it's with your kids too. There are things that we kind of demand of our kids, and to be able to demand those things, we've got to be filling those emotional tanks. It's with that with our friends. If we want to ever be able to have a real friendship, then part of that real friendship is actually filling their emotional tanks as well. And so here's a question that second question I've got for tonight. How have you experienced this principle of emotional tanks? How have you experienced this principle of emotional tanks? Okay, so the last little 5% block of attraction that's left is physical. And actually, we're just going to go ahead and bypass that one completely. We're going to spend a whole week, March 8th, talking about the physical and talking about sex and other kinds of fun things. You're not going to want to miss that week. But anyways, we gave a challenge, though. In dealing with spiritual attraction and talking about what that is, and then talking about emotional attraction, that the more of those things, the closer you get to God, the more attractive you become. The more of those emotional tanks that you feel, the more bitterness that you get out of yourself, the better you treat people, the more attractive you actually become. And the physical actually becomes a fairly small block of that. So the challenge we gave is, how are you going to become more attractive? And so here's the third question. How can you become more attractive to your spouse, your family, and your friends?